I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, February the 14th, Valentine's Day, brought to you in part by Toromox by Norbrook. Toromox is a ready-to-use injectable parasiticide. Now say that 3 times fast. It's affordable. It is the alternative to Cydectin, guys. It's the affordable alternative to Cydectin. It's dung beetle friendly, which I have learned is very important. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Also, Unionville Livestock Market in north central Missouri and Creston Livestock Market in south central Iowa. Both of these sales are going to be having big specials this coming week. Unionville's having a special calf and yearling sale this Tuesday. They've got several consignments of fancy black and red Angus 5 to 750 pound long time wean calves. They'll fit your program, guys. Check them out at Unionville. Then up at Creston, they've got a big special on Wednesday the 19th. It's their special all vaccinated calf and yearling sale with some really impressive consignments there, including Nichols Farms has 185 fancy replacement heifers, and all the work's been done, including pelvic measurements. They've all been freeze branded. I mean, it is a fancy deal. Take the opportunity to bid on those replacement heifers from the Nichols Farms, and then they've got a lot of fancy feeder cattle and calves. Thompson family's got 200 black and red Angus calves in there, weighing 6.5 to 7.5. You won't find them any better. And then many more, too many to mention. They've got 7 more fancy consignments of over 100 head of long-time weaned calves and yearlings. Don't miss that special on Wednesday the 19th at Creston, Iowa, at Creston Livestock Markets. You can check both of those sale barns out at DVAuction.com this coming week. Valentine's shutters. Now, Valentine's Day, we all recognize it as a holiday, but it's a commercial holiday. It was just drummed up to sell greeting cards and flowers and chocolates and things like that. Get boyfriends and husbands in trouble and make people go out to eat one more time than they normally would. But it's not a government holiday. We're still going to get mail. The banks are still open. It's not that big of a holiday, but at least one Texas Panhandle packing house is expected to be dark here today on Friday for Valentine's Day. Now, they love their employees so much, they want them to have plenty of time to celebrate that evening. I think it probably has more to do with their tight supplies of cattle that they have purchased, and these packing plants are not making any money right now. So why not shutter them? And even such a disappointing week here, it could spark dressed beef prices a little bit. They've been struggling, but what will it do to cash cattle prices and to our cattle futures? I don't know. I'm not sure that any of that news has come out yet here before the business day starts on Friday, but and it could be happening in several more major plants all over the country. We don't know. They're not excited about killing big numbers of cattle, just enough to cover their needs of beef that they already have sold, and so that's probably going to be a downer on the market. Now, we've been selling feeder cattle really well here mid to late part of this week here, and the futures have kind of rebounded here, and it's been a nice bounce, and we're actually feeling like we got a little bit of footing underneath us here. So we don't want to kill that. These packing plants just aren't making a lot of money. They haven't bought a lot of cattle. They don't have a lot of cattle around them. So it's not going to hurt their feelings to have a short slaughter or miss a day here and there. Now, USDA has revised their 2025 beef production estimates, and they've revised them up. And you're thinking, my gosh, what are you talking about? We've had a inventory report. It showed how tight supplies are. I think all of us pretty much know that the supplies are even tighter than what it says, and they're adjusting it up. just from their last estimate that they put out there just a couple of months ago? Well, it was mostly due to the opening of the Mexican border, because when they made that estimate, the border was actually closed right then, and we weren't sure how long that was going to be. But they haven't been moving that many cattle across. But they've adjusted that 2025 beef production up 775 million pounds from the previous forecast, the January forecast. But that beef production is still going to be 1.6% lower year over year, because I mean we just have fewer numbers, and in 2024 we were expecting lower beef production, and it ended up being higher than 2023, but that was almost entirely because of the heavier carcasses. I don't know how much heavier we can make them, guys. Cattle that we raised 15, 20 years ago would quit you at 13.5 or 1,400 pounds. We've kind of been trying to get them to where they'll go a little further than that, but I don't know any cattle that won't start quitting you at 18 something, and we've been raising a lot of those, so we're not going to make up a lot of ground with heavier carcasses than we had last year. It's just not possible unless we get a lot more continental breeding in our herds, and we haven't had that for, close to 40, 50 years there, guys. But your fed cattle numbers are going to be slightly less in 2025. We know that because our calf crop was smaller. So the fed cattle numbers are going to be, 1 to 2%, with the revisions lower. That is an absolute given. I think they're probably going to be lower than that, because I think the USDA inventory report is on the high side. But we know that our fed cattle numbers are going to be lower, maybe just slightly lower, but maybe more than that. But we also know that our cow and bull numbers are going to be sharply lighter, and maybe close to 10% lighter. We've culled so hard. Our market back in the summer, late spring, early summer, was so good for cows and bulls, it just brought them out of the woodwork. I mean, out of the hills and the hollers and everywhere. People were bringing in slaughter cows and bulls that they maybe forgot were out there. It's starting to get that way again. Our cow and bull market is getting so impressive that we're seeing them bringing more of those to town than maybe they would have. But those numbers are going to be really light. And our cattle slaughter has been lighter, even though our beef production has been heavier in 2024. But our cattle slaughter was lighter, and it was almost entirely because of tighter numbers of cows and bulls. And we know that we're culled, to the max. So where are they going to find them? That we just don't come up with slaughter cows and bulls. Calves are selling so well, people want to put those into production and have more of them. But just a couple of things to look at, especially that slaughter here on Friday when that report comes out. Knowing pretty darn sure that one plant's going to be completely dark, and then how many more are. It could be significant, and we're going to have a very, very disappointing slaughter for the week. Talk about your board. Your February live cattle futures were up 40 cents at 199.55. April was up 80 at 196.52. Your back months were all up from $1.05 to 152 higher, so that's good. March feeder cattle were up $3 smooth. That's great. 267.97. Now April also closed on Thursday at 267.97. So we're not expecting a big hiccup in our feeder cattle prices according to the futures. And that April was up 272. Now your back months were all up big on feeder cattle futures from 202 to 260 higher. Look at your grains. March corn is up 3 1/4 cents a bushel at 493.5. March beans up 2 1/4 cents a bushel at 1030. And hard red winter wheat for March up 6 3/4 at 598 1/4 cents a bushel. Your fat cattle trade, we continued to see more trade on Thursday at the same prices that we saw on Wednesday. They're lower. They're $4 to $5 lower for the most part. Iowa sold another 2,550 head. They've only sold 3,500 for the week. And so they've got a lot more work to do here on Friday. And I hope everything kind of holds up. We'd hate to lose more than $5 in our cash fat cattle market. But they sold some more at 203 on Thursday. Some more dress sales from 320 to 322, which is $3 to $5 lower there. Nebraska sold only 600 head more on Thursday. They've only sold 2,100 for the week. Now that is not the Southern Plains guys. They're going to sell around 20,000 head in each of those big states there, because they sell a lot of negotiated cattle there. Guys are just holding out, hoping for better money, hoping to hold somewhere close to steady with last week and not succumb to the lower market. But Nebraska sold some more cattle at 203 and some dress sales from 320 to 321. Now Kansas sold another 850 head on Thursday. They've sold 7,300 for the week. They'll likely sell a few more than that, but not a whole lot. The market in the Southern Plains is 202. I did have one deal at 203 in Kansas and some dress sales at 321. Texas did not sell a hoof on Thursday. They've sold 2,100 for the week, which is really light, but they may not sell any more than that negotiated cash. And their market is mostly 202 earlier in the week. Box beef cutout values were mixed. Choice was down 186 at 317.40. Select was up 70 cents at 309.84, and that's a pretty narrow spread between the two. Slaughter for the week, or up through the first 4 days of the week, 454,000. You remember how disappointing it was on Monday. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday was more normal. But then now we're looking at Friday likely being very disappointing. But that 454,000 through the first 4 days of the week was 22,000 less than a week ago and 32,000 less at this point the same week a year ago. Actual slaughter information come back for the week ending February the 1st with your average dressed steer carcass weight at 952 pounds. That was 4 pounds heavier. Those cattle that were harvested back then had kind of got over that really cold snap there and had more weight on them. 4 pounds bigger than the previous report, 43 pounds bigger than the same report a year ago, and that's what made up your beef production since then. I mean, man, that makes up a lot of ground, guys, and it's all about tonnage. But let's talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services. They are your LRP specialists, guys. And I've told you about Dakota Moss there and all the agents that work with him. You can call any of these guys and they can help you out, and gals. But there's no more excuses for not knowing about LRP, especially if you're a regular feeder flash watcher there. I've been telling you about no more excuses, and you can't claim ignorance. But if you're feeling a little ignorant about it, not totally, but you're a little bit ignorant about LRPs, how they can protect you, what they're going to cost, whether you can get them on small groups of cattle, which you can, whether the government will kick in and help pay part of the premium, which it will, you need to get a hold of them. Check them out at livestockriskservices.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance, working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Thursday after all your sales have closed, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, sitting at 276.22, actually up 90. We haven't seen that for a couple of weeks. Your real-time index being up 90. We had some really nice sales and lighter receipts later in the week because there's been storms blowing all over the mid part of the country, which has your receipts down, then have some really impressive sales on Thursday. That will help spur that index up a little bit, and it is a 7-day moving average. Latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 274.42. Talk about a sale that I'm going to be at this weekend if I hadn't been busy enough. I'm going to be at the Sheel Bine Farms Angus production sale on Saturday. They are going to be on February the 15th, this Saturday, starting at 11 a.m. Central. They're going to have 400 bulls to sell there for that sale. 50 registered bred heifers. It's going to be in Kimball, Minnesota. Now, it's likely going to be cold up there. It won't be any colder than it was in Tucumcari, New Mexico this week, video on bulls. But if you're coming to that sale, come Friday night, I believe they're going to have a dinner there, and Don Sheel Bine and I are going to be having an open discussion about the cattle industry there over dinner. And I'm sure you guys are invited. I haven't talked to them that much about it, but they want you to come look at their stock. They want you there for the sale on Saturday, and it will be on DVAuction.com, 11 o'clock a.m. on Saturday. Be a part of the Sheel Bine Farms program there, guys. Let's talk about your big feeder cattle auctions on Thursday. Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota had 2,400 head. It was one of the biggest sales we saw on Thursday. Market was unevenly steady to $6 higher. The full advance was seen on the feeder steers. Now next week at Mitchell Livestock Marketing, going to have 5,000 head. They're having their big special Hereford Influence sale, and there will be some replacement heifers on that deal. So check them out. Going to be on DVAuction.com. Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota. Mitchell was your National BeefWire stick-out sale of the day for Thursday. Check out these best tested weights, and they were on the heavier cattle, which is typical there in the Northern Plains. 291 head of the 7-weight steers in Mitchell, averaged 759 pounds with a weighted average price of $288.13. 342 head of 8-weight steers in Mitchell, averaged 842 pounds at $274.97. 183 head of the 9-weight steers, averaged 964 at $260.22, and not on this automated market report, but they did have 110 head of 10-weight steers in Mitchell. They averaged 1038 at $257.52. Very impressive. How about the heifers? 231 head of 7-weight heifers in Mitchell, averaged 750 pounds at $266.26. 222 head of the 8-weight heifers, averaged 843 at $256.06. And 267 head of 9-weight heifers at Mitchell Livestock Marketing, averaged 944 pounds with a weighted average price of $238.36. Some more individual quotes from all around. How about Napoleon Livestock in Napoleon, North Dakota? Another DV auction broadcaster there, guys. They sell 98 steer calves, weighed 562, and bring 376.50. Thought that was really impressive. How about Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas? They had a lighter run because of the weather, but they did have 51 steers, weighed 785, bring 294.50, weighing almost 800 pounds. That'll kickstart your index levels, guys. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day is actually 2 quotes from the same consignment, same sale barn. Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, North Dakota, had the Kaufman Ranch cattle in there and their F1 Black Baldies, my favorite. How about the big steers? 64 of them weighed 946 and bring 267. How about the F1 Baldy replacement heifers? 49 of them weigh 810 pounds and bring $299.50 or $2,427 a head. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.